This is Boomer Time, a proactive podcast for baby boomers, about baby boomers, and for people taking care of baby boomers. If that sounds like you, then you're in the right place. I'm Nancy Kogar, elder law attorney and aging advocate, and this podcast was made just for you. Remember, though, the things we discuss here are not intended to be legal advice, and no attorney-client relationship is established by this podcast. So today we're talking about online scams targeting seniors. This episode is perfect for caregivers who need a better awareness of scams targeting seniors, and for seniors themselves to avoid becoming a victim of these online scams, and what to do if you are a victim. This episode explores the type of online scams targeting seniors, how to avoid being a victim, and what to do if you think you've been victimized. Scams are everywhere these days, and they are often targeting older adults. In 1 year alone, the FBI said there was over $3 billion in financial losses, and these are just reported losses. And the type of scams are on the rise. 82% increased in just 1 year, says the FBI. These con artists are slick, and employ a wide variety of tactics to get older people to fall for these scams. So if you're listening today, just some general things to be cautious of. If they're friendly, approachable, sympathetic, they may convince you that they're on your side and you might be more willing to do business with them. They may try to scare you, give you a sense of urgency that someone's in trouble and that you don't have too much time to think. You've got to act quickly. They try to gain your trust. They can use an emotional arousal to try to skew your judgment. They can pretend to be associated with a credible company, government agency like the Social Security Office, or charity. They're just trying everything, and they can also be ambiguous in an effort to not reveal that they're really scammers. So we've tackled scams in prior episodes, and we're going to keep talking about them on future episodes. And today we are talking about online fraud, more specifically. The internet has been ripe with scams targeting seniors since its inception. This includes fake virus pop-ups to try to trick victims into paying money, real viruses that can hold a victim's computer and internet system hostage until you make a payment. I know that even lawyers have fallen for this one. Phishing scams, we're going to talk more about that, and attempts to steal identity through fake websites and emails. Hello, everyone. I'm Nancy Kogar, as you know, your host, and I'm glad that you've joined me today. This is Boomer Time, and today I have a very special guest, and I've been so excited about doing this. It's my producer and my friend, Nea Paris from Paris Campaigns and Creatives. I'm so glad you're here.
I like to say I'm glad to be here too, but I'm here every week.
I know.
I'm always here. I'm always here with you, Nancy. So, but it's thank you for having me on, here to talk about this ongoing threat for us, especially with so many of us living our lives online, right? We bank online, we connect with one another online, we shop online, we do everything online now. And so, I feel that it's my duty to help educate. Maybe that's potential clients, maybe that's friends in the community, that's just everyone, especially the aging community, on something that's really, really important. And I feel like it's also very overlooked because all this technology is just coming at us so fast, right? That we don't have time to mentally catch up to, okay, we need to secure passwords or pay attention to what we're clicking on, or, pay attention to this email that we received. So, thank you for having me on to talk about this really, really important topic.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want people to know too, that you are here every week, and I couldn't do this without you. And, you are younger than I am. So, you know a lot about technology, where I am less familiar, and that's been helpful in even putting this podcast together. But I do agree with you that, we're making these quick decisions oftentimes with the internet
Yep.
and with technology. So I'm so glad that you're able to offer some insight and some suggestions to the community out there. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, indeed.
What do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about emails? Do you want to talk about kind of the highs and lows of password protection? I know, I've got a very crowded brain, so when it comes to passwords, I try not to save as many as I need to, but it gets difficult remembering all those passwords.
Well, it helped that I came from a corporate background where in a corporate environment, you have corporate, internet technology teams that will frequently remind you that you need to reset your password. And so because I've had that early in my career, and throughout, it just became instilled into me to make sure that I'm always resetting my password. I'm using the best practices to protect myself and the information that I have on my computer or maybe another company's computer. But I think that we need to extend that to our personal lives as well. It's not just about being at the office. It's also about our own sensitive information as well. So I just want to extend those tips that I've learned throughout my career to the average Joe who really needs it, especially for what you help them with, Nancy, with estate planning and elder law and sensitive documents that, really could bring someone to financial ruin if it were to get out to others. So it's so important that we talk about that. But as far as what we want to talk about first I want to take a second to share with people what I do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
How I'm connected to this type of thing here.
Please do.
So I'm a Chattanooga native, born and raised here, and I'm also the owner of Paris Campaigns and Creative, which is a boutique media agency based here in Chattanooga. We help companies large and small, not just here, but across the nation as well. But we help with PR, event promos, web development, graphic design, and even podcasts, like, of course, the one we're listening to right here, which is Boomer Time. And so we are a creative agency, but we're frequently tech facing. So we're always in those tech spaces. So we're managing email accounts and handling file management, and we're developing websites. And so we're always in that space. And so that's why this topic is important for me, because frequently people come to me with things like, okay, I need to get into my Facebook account, but I don't have my password, or I want to start something or start this account with this new website, or there's this new software that's been trying to sell to me. Should I do it? And, I'm always investigating these to whether they're valid sources or valid companies. I'm always looking at these new apps that are coming out. You go to your app store or you go to the Google Play Store, you see a bunch of apps there and you're like, is this legitimate? So I'm always looking at those things for, say, like my clients and even my family and friends, just making sure that you're going to the right place, because I don't want anyone to be scammed out of their money or their information. That bites, but it's sadly really frequent. And, there are ways that we can prevent that.
Well, and one of the things I really like about having you around too is not only are you so wonderful with the producing and the technology, but you also have a background when it comes to aging adults. So I think that's part of the reason that we work so well together, because you understand those issues, you've been there, and you care.
Yes. So I started in healthcare marketing. I was working with a magazine company that produced publications for various populations, but particularly I had a heart for topics that address the needs of the aging population, anybody over 65. So I worked in that space, and then I worked for Life Care Centers of America there in the media agency. And we did a lot of really creative projects to really help inform the public about the opportunities that were in long-term care and so on. So, I've been in that space for some time now, working, whether that is in a PR capacity or media capacity, even in a recruitment capacity, promotional. So I've been in those spaces. But I've been very much involved in the communication to those of the aging population and the caregivers, family members that support them.
So I think that's great that we can sit down with you and talk about online scams today
Yeah.
with the note that you understand, the special needs sometimes, or the unfamiliarity that an older adult may have with technology.
Yes.
And like you said earlier, it's changing all the time. You've got to go online and check your bank account. How the heck do you do that? And,
Right.
if you leave the password being saved, are you setting yourself up for somebody else to come in there and access it?
That's right.
These are things I think about myself. So, um, I think this is important, and I want folks to listen through because I know they're going to get some good insights from you. Well, let's take a break, and then when we come back, maybe we can talk specifically about some of these things and what people can do, like I said, to avoid becoming a victim, and then what do they do if they find that they have been hacked or victimized. So hang with me, Ms. Ney, and we will be right back. Well, welcome back to Boomer Time. This is Nancy Kogar, and today we are talking scams again, but today we are talking online, specifically scams. I kind of look at the internet as, when you go on the internet, it is fantastic. There's so many things available, but you're also opening the door. So with me today is my wonderful producer and friend, Nea Paris from Paris Campaigns and Creatives, and she is a technology expert, in my opinion. So I thought it would be helpful to have her here and talk about some of these things and how you can better protect yourself and be aware. So, Nay, I mentioned this earlier, but what should we be doing when it comes to those passwords?
Okay, yeah, passwords it should be top priority when it comes to protecting yourself. So I mentioned this in the earlier segment, but I came from a corporate setting where we were always vigilant about making sure that our passwords were reset or protected. And we had various strategies to make sure of that, right? Because when you're working with a company, you're working with sensitive information. And so, but my thought is, okay, well, we everyday Joes, are doing the same thing, right? We have our bank account information, we have our passwords and passwords to other passwords. We have so many areas that we need to protect. And so that's why I want to take that approach that I learned and make sure that the general public is aware that these things even exist. Especially, you have mobile devices, you have tablets, you have all of those things, and we want to make sure that you are protecting all of that too. So when it comes to passwords, we want to make sure they're secure. And of course, you've probably heard that a lot. Yeah, I need a secure password. Yes, you do. You do need a secure password. And so something like 12345 is not something that you should ever use as a password, but something really simple like that, leaves you vulnerable because those bots, those, skimmers that are online, I don't know, there's various words or terms for them, but they're already primed to go for those simple, easy words. And they just pretty much crawl the internet to find areas that they can expose. And so something simple like a 12345 is something that, that just, you might as well leave your valuables in the car and leave the car unlocked overnight. That's pretty much the same.
That's such a good comparison because it's really what you're doing.
Right. So, so I'll say that's a no-no. So I like to pair things into no-nos and yeses. So 12345 is a no-no, a simple password like that. Things like birthdays, your pet names, your name. I mean, you'd be surprised some of the passwords that I may encounter in my work. And then, of course, my recommendation is you need to make this more secure. You need to make this more unique and so on and so forth. So so strengthening that would involve these three things. And a lot of our even government agencies recommend these approaches. But you want to make sure, number one, that you make your password long. And there are some sites that recommend 16 characters. That's including the letters, the numbers, any any symbols, whatever. A total of 16 characters in your password. And a lot of sites will tell you longer is stronger. A lot of your experts will tell you longer is stronger. So the longer your password, the less likely somebody's going to be able to guess it and crack the code, right? So number 2, you want to ensure that it is rich with different characters. So, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you probably want like ampersand, star, capital letter, lowercase letter. You want a mixture of different things in your password, depending on where you are. Some places don't allow you to do like underscores, whatever, but whatever you have to do on the platform that you're on to make it complicated, you can do that. And even online, there are password generators that will create it for you in case you don't trust yourself. So you can lean on those as well. And then the third tip that I will offer, and this is also widely recommended, is to make sure that your password is unique for every place that you go to. Right. So every site that you have. So your email password is one thing, but your Facebook password is something else, because believe it or not, if somebody were to get access to, I don't know, your computer, if they have one password, they have them all. And so it's important that in each place, you make sure that password is unique. I know that sounds like a lot of trouble. I know that sounds like a lot of extra steps, but it's even more work when your email or your password is compromised. Yeah. And trying to undo that. I know Nancy, trying to undo those problems that come with a compromised account is far more work than anybody will ever want to do, and can cause a lot of damage. It can make you very vulnerable to those types of attacks that could wipe out your bank account. It could, it could expose your sensitive information to the public. You just don't want to do that. So I would recommend that you go through the trouble of having to create a password with an ampersand and like a, exclamation point and all the other stuff that we don't want to do, but it's just something that you have to do. And so make that a habit. And take this to your family too. Ask them, how is your password secure? And what are you doing to make sure all your stuff is secure? Because you could have information about me that could also expose me, or I could have information about you. So you want to make sure that you make this not just your own practice, but educate those around you to do the same.
Absolutely. Because once it's open, it's open.
And I'll add one more thing too. I want to recommend a password manager. And what that is, it's an application that keeps all of your passwords secure, that it itself also has to have a password to get into. And so a password manager can be, on your mobile device or on your computer. And one that I'll recommend is called KeePass. That's KEE Pass, PASS. So KeePass is a app that keeps your password safe, and it's pretty much like a drawer or a locker, and it needs password protection itself. And so, and it keeps just like a log of all of your passwords, it even generates passwords for you if you need your password generated. So you can download this online at keepass.info. And I'll put a link in the show notes as well, so that you can take a look at that. But it is an open source software, so it's free to use. So it doesn't cost you anything to protect yourself. So I recommend using this. And I've used this for years, and it's been around for more than 20 years, if I'm not mistaken. And so I would recommend getting a password manager to pretty much manage your online life. Another password manager is called LastPass. And LastPass is pretty much the same as KeePass. It has some additional features that you may want to take advantage of, but just so you know, it's also free to take advantage of as well. And it's also free to use. I'll put the link in the show notes as well. That way you just have some options. But either way, I think a password manager is a good practice for you. Maybe your office, maybe you have multiple employees. You want to make sure that they're practicing password safety. So you may want to take advantage of these things as well. So again, I'll put these in the show notes so you guys can take advantage of this. I really, really urge you to do that. One last thing on passwords is two-factor authentication.
Oh, yes.
You know what that is, Nancy.
Yes, it drives me crazy.
So two-factor, or now what they're calling it, multi-factor authentication. It is a extra level of security to secure your account, and it comes in various forms. Lately, especially with like the iPhone and other devices, you have what you call biometric authentication, where you're using your thumbprint or even your face even to unlock your phone. So you have that, and then you also have the irritating one-time code that has to come to your device or your email, and you have to figure out where your email is so that you can unlock it, and it gets on people's nerves. It gets under my skin too. It can kind of be irritating, but
click all the boxes that have the bike in them.
Oh, right. And those ones are kind of, tricky, but it's for the best, like the captchas and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we do recommend that you turn those on at any possible given opportunity. You want to make sure you have your multi-factor or two-factor authentication on, no matter where you are. You want to do that. So that's really pretty much all I have on password protection.
No, I think that's good. And, I think related to that, and this would be a nice natural transition, is to talk about email, because I think these are the areas that I see as far as older individuals, downloading things or not changing your password, things like that. Let's talk about email. You get an email, says it's from your bank. You open it up. Oh, my bank is telling me to change my password.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a problem?
Well, okay. So I get these frequently. And I get these frequently next to social media scams as well. So we'll get into that in just a little bit. But so one of the things I always urge people to, look at when they come to me and they say, oh, this email looks suspicious, is I'm always like, okay, look at the header information. And what the header information is the from, to, CC, BCC, that information. Some people may not pay attention to that because they're used to getting emails from the people they know. But sometimes you may get an email and the header says, XYZ Bank. And you're thinking, oh, well, it's XYZ Bank. It just says XYZ Bank.
Mm-hmm.
It's important that you look at that header information so that you can actually see the email address, because sometimes you'll find that XYZ Bank was actually sent by Ray at badmail.com.
Yeah.
And it's not.
He's not a new employee.
No, right. And it's important that you see that domain. The domain is the part that comes after the @ Look at that closely to see if it even looks reputable. And even some scammers, some phishers are even clever enough to do things like make XYZ mail1@.com as the email so that they can really convince you that they are who they say they are. And so it's really important that you look at it and take that 10 seconds rule that we were talking about a little earlier. Take 10 seconds to really look at it and make sure that you don't make any knee-jerk reactions to the email, because a lot of the time people see the email and they'll see the subject line and it's something that evokes fear, right? It'll be like, your account will be terminated or something really like, outrageous, and you're reading this email and they're intimidating you in this email. And so I feel like a lot of the times you see that and you're shocked. And you're like in panic mode, like, what do I do? This person says that they're going to close down my account, or this person says that, I have to pay them this money or something like that. And then we're not rationalizing. We're not really, well, what we're doing is we're not processing it properly. And we're not like, hey, wait a minute. I don't even know if I have an account with this person,
right?
Or who is this? Like, take that 10 seconds to really like take a deep breath and be like, okay, what am I reading? Maybe step away, come back. Flag it, of course, so that you can really look at it. And then if you need to, report it as spam if it is spam. So,
well, and one of the things that's on the rise are Social Security related scams. And I wanted to talk to you about this too. And I'm sure you have some good information on this, but the government is not going to come call you or email you and ask you for your credit card.
No, not at all. Not at all. And when you see things like that, there is a site that you can go to report these
Oh, great.
instances. Specifically for elder fraud, this is a website called ic3.gov, and it is run by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI. So you want to go there if you see any sort of instance, maybe it's you or your loved one who may be a victim of what we call elder fraud. And this online elder fraud is on the rise, as you were saying. It pretty much is a platform where you can literally you can read the report, but then you can also file a complaint.
Hmm.
And then of course, you're able to put in any information. It gives you some really good resources to help you protect yourself from things like ransomware or, just other cyber crimes. But if you sense that you are a victim of, say, someone's maybe compromised your social security number or something like that, you're able to go file a complaint there and make sure that they're on top of it.
I think that's important because I get a lot of calls from people that say, I got this from the Social Security Department or Medicare sent me this and, I don't know what to do with it. Well, half the time it's not even from Medicare.
Right.
So it is out there.
And then some things that you want to look at when you are receiving, say, communications from these supposed government agencies is making sure, like when you're reading, say, like the letters, you're looking for things like misspellings, right?
Mhm.
You're looking for poor grammar. You're looking for things like words that you don't understand, words just kind of jumbled up together. It doesn't look like a normal professional format. You want to look for logos that are either blurry or fake, or they look like they're homemade, or they look like, they don't look like the actual,
They're
logo, or
close.
sometimes these scammers get really, really close. And then of course, remember looking at the header information, making
Mhm.
sure that if it is from that government agency, that you can recognize what that government agency email should look like. Rarely do you get an unprompted email out of nowhere saying that you did something, or that you should do something, or that
No.
you need to give them money. The government agency is not going to just reach out
No.
to you and say, you need to put in your credit card here. It doesn't work that way usually.
Well, and things get a little even more complicated with AI. And I wanted to touch on this with you too, because as you've heard, this is me talking, okay? And someone could use technology to make it sound like it's me talking,
Mm-hmm.
or your granddaughter or your brother, and,
Absolutely.
and then send you that and say there's a problem and you need to do something right away.
Yeah, we're hearing cases like voicemails that people are getting, or phone calls people are getting from these scammers, and it supposedly sounds like a loved one, and it's really, really sad to how low some of these scammers can
Oh,
go with this, and they're pretty much playing on our
yeah, they
heartstrings
are.
to get us to do what we want, or pretend that your loved one is being held for ransom and you need to give us this money. Like it's pretty bad right now. And so it's just important that we stay vigilant. Like you said, I love that you said that, count to 10. That's something
Mm.
that, I will, share with other people as well, counting to 10 to make sure, okay, how should I respond to this, or should I respond at all? But, those AI scams are really pretty much on the rise, to where now on social media, content creators are urged to, well, in a way, almost required to list if something was created extensively with AI or not.
Hmm.
So, but I just want people to take caution when they're sharing their photos with family and friends publicly, understanding how to make your profile private versus, public, or understanding, that maybe everything doesn't need to be shared on social media. This is kind of aside from seniors, but a lot of parents are telling everybody that their kid is going back to school, and
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and there was a post that was a great PSA, if you will, and this person was saying, yes, that I know, understand that you're happy that your kid is going back to school, but please refrain from using your child's full name and putting a picture of them and saying what school they're going to. These are, and it's interesting that it had to be said, but which is where we are right now in society, where we're very excited to share things, but we're forgetful often of safety and security, and also who's watching, who's looking at us out there.
Yeah.
So especially with AI scams and that, people can pretty much take a picture of you and turn it into something else, maybe nefarious
Hmm.
that you wish weren't out there. And so just practice caution and, limit your personal life being so much online. I'm not saying that you shouldn't use it's social media, but really limit some of that interaction, because what really matters is that you're interacting with people in person,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, because, you never know. You never know.
Well, and you and I have talked about this, but one of the reasons that we have the podcast is because I wanted to create community after
Yes.
several years where we have been unfortunately isolated, and then caring for an older adult, or even being an older adult, can be very isolating because it is difficult to get out,
Yeah.
or you're too busy, you're trying to burn it on both ends. Um, that's why I think community is important too.
Yes.
So if people see something, oftentimes I think that they are embarrassed maybe to report this.
Mhm.
What would you say about, if it seems strange, what should they do?
Okay. So if it seems weird, most platforms allow you to report anything that you see. So if you're on Facebook, there should be some options next to a post that may look strange or awkward, or maybe it is a scam and you're like, it's a scam. Use those settings. Don't think that no one's using them or no one's seeing that report. They actually do. There is a team of people that actually takes a look at that. If it doesn't happen automatically, there are ways that they can correspond with that post and ensure that it doesn't reach any more people. So it's important that you, at every instance that you do see something that looks off, report it as spam, report it as maybe it's content that's inappropriate. Maybe it's content that is you're impersonating somebody, and that they're impersonating somebody. Always take the opportunity to report that. Try to nip it when you can. And then also, if you're online, say if you're on social media, and you see your friend sharing something that may not be real, just have a talk with them, ask them, and then share these tips. And we'll put plenty of these tips in the show notes as well, but share these tips with them too, because they just may not be aware. It's just making rounds and you just like pass it by. You just don't want to let things make its rounds. You just want to go ahead and say, one thing that I can't stand on social media, Nancy, one thing I can't stand is when I'm on Facebook and I see somebody who, shares those, copy and pasted posts where it's like, I don't consent to Facebook, owning my personal information. And, and you see it shared over and over and over. And it's like, you do realize that itself is a scam too. And sometimes it's scary. Like they'll put a link, they'll even include a link, and they'll pass that link around. And it's like, okay, well, did you even click the link? Because the wrong person could click that link. Oh. So, it's important that we're not in the habit of copying, pasting, and, just getting things off of the internet, and not really investigating where it came from.
I think that's so important. These are commonsensical things, but I think there's just so much that gets thrown at us.
Yeah.
You start processing it, and you start to miss some things, I think.
Absolutely. I'll share one more example.
Sure, yeah, please do.
And this relates to social media, because we're in the day and age where we do everything on social media. So we're shopping on social media, we're banking on the internet, we're doing business online. And so I think this is really, really important, especially for those of us who, we're at home, maybe we aren't able to get out as much as we'd like. And so we're, consuming a lot of information, and we're doing a lot of shopping. Shopping is really is big, and is important that you practice online safety in these platforms as well. Yes, it might be nice and dressed up that you're on Instagram or you're on Facebook, but you still have to practice that same vigilance that you do with email. So the example I want to share with you was from my sister. who
Uh-oh.
she and I both, we enjoy, shopping on these different sites and stuff. Of course, Temu and Shein are really, really popular sites. So we're shopping on one site that's like this fast fashion type site. And my sister is, just browsing through these dresses and things on this site that she found on Facebook. And she's like, "Ooh, Nay, I like this dress." And I'm looking at this and, then she takes a second look and she's like, "Wait a minute, is that logo correct?" And then she's looking more, investigating the site a little bit more. And she's like, "Wait a minute, this site looks off." And mind you, she doesn't have she's not a web developer. She's not doing a lot of this stuff that I'm doing, but she herself is just looking at this and she's just like, "Wait a minute, this doesn't look right." And she's like, "Nay, come over, take a look at this." And so I'm looking at it. And then she goes over to the address bar, at the very top, you go to the address bar, and the address bar didn't even say the company's name.
Oh, wow.
And so we took screenshots and everything. And I'll likely include these in the show notes as well, just to show the comparison between the real website and the fake website. And so I'm online and I'm investigating fake fast fashion website. And I come across the Reddit forums and I'm reading, and a lot of people are saying this, same comment about this one retailer. And they're saying, "I feel like I've been scammed. I gave my information," or, "What should I do? Should I clear out my cart?" And, unfortunately, some people did get scammed from these sites because people will click on social media links not knowing where they're going. Because, we have short links, we have all this stuff. And this is what I was saying about social media and technology in general, just being overwhelming for a lot of us. And, it can get hard. It can be challenging, but, still, don't let your guard down wherever you are, because, just know that no matter what environment you're in, I don't care how fancy or how sleek it looks or how cool it is or how many people are on the platform, it's important to keep these principles in place to protect you and your family and your best interests.
Yeah. And I think, generally speaking, we have probably a handful of daily activities that we do on a consistent basis. So why don't we keep it simple? So if you don't need to veer off. If you find some things that work for you, then keep those within your what you're working on. And then if something else comes in that seems strange, well, it probably is strange. So just stay away from it. Well, I am so glad that you are on this road with me. And I just enjoyed what you had to share today as far as online security. And I took a few notes myself.
So I'm going to stay on you, Nancy.
Yeah, I know. I need it.
Yep.
She keeps me organized when it comes to things like that. So, all of you out there, if you have questions, please send them to me and I will pass those on to Nea and we can talk about them in a future show. I want Nea to be able to share her expertise here as well. So, thank you. Thank you for doing this today.
Thank you for having me on. Of course, I feel like I'm always on here with you behind the scenes. But no, thank you for allowing me the space to help redirect people into a safer environment, especially when they're navigating the online waters. It can be scary, and yes, technology is scary because it's growing. It's getting bigger and bigger by the day, and so I just want to make sure people know where to go and or what to do, to protect themselves.
I don't know if I should share this or not.
Okay.
But
yeah,
it's my show, so I'm going to share it.
Okay.
So we are preparing to transition to video.
Yes.
So you can still listen on all these wonderful podcast apps, but you're going to be able to see us soon too. So maybe there's some things in the future we can do that you can actually see what we're talking about, and then we can walk through it, because these things are complicated.
Absolutely.
Kind of like that idea.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So we're already on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, pretty much everywhere that you listen to podcasts, but we're also on YouTube currently, and we are going to make that transition to video so that you can see Nancy's smiling face every week after week. And then also, we may have some visuals and documents and things like that you might want to actually look at on screen. And then,
Mhm.
of course, we always share all of that great information in the show notes on nancycoger.com. You can always go and see the specific show. And then we always at the very bottom have the elder law news you can use, as well
Mhm.
as the resources, bullet point list of resources that you can take away from each episode. So it's important that you take advantage of those things as well. And then also Nancy has her email list. You can subscribe to her email list so that you can get updates every week from us.
Mhm.
So great resource there. Of course, we're exploring other ways to keep connected. So we want to just build a great community where Nancy, myself, you are all included so that we can make better decisions.
Yeah, because, you know, aging is a process. We are all aging, and I don't want you to do that alone. And if you are, it's not a one and done, as I say. I want you to be part of the process as we move forward, because I want to be going along that journey with you. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen with us today. I really hope you had some great takeaways. Online is a universe out there that is just amazing, but also problematic. So we will continue to talk about scams. But for the meantime, if it doesn't look right, stay away from it. Count to 10 before you respond. And don't download things.
But download safe things, but
Yeah.
look at what you're clicking on before
Okay.
you click it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And to all of you, have a wonderful week. And I will see you next time. And Nea will be here too. So maybe you can say hello to her through the website. So she always likes to hear from you. She's working hard for you too. So you all be blessed, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.